You're watching NCAA Tournament Soccer on ESPN. And welcome into Dallas, Texas. Tonight, the SMU Mustangs, the champions of the American Athletic Conference, match up with the champions of the Summit League, the Denver Pioneers. The winner goes on to the round of 16. Welcome into Washburne Soccer and Track Stadium in Dallas. It's the place where we will decide this matchup in the second round. SMU and Denver. Denver getting here by beating Long Island 2-1. The winner of this matchup gets either Portland or Oregon State in the third round after Thanksgiving. And welcome inside. I'm John Liddle alongside Steve Lansdale. Great to have you with us as well. These two teams matched up way back in September. That was a win in Denver for the Pioneers, 3-1. How much confidence do you think that gives Denver tonight?
That has to give them a lot of confidence. It was a very convincing performance by the Pioneers, who held a 3-goal advantage at halftime. Mustangs got one in the second half, but that game was largely decided by the intermission. SMU needs a performance like that tonight to even the season slate between the two.
Well, one of the big breakout performances was by O.J. O'Finran, who had a brace in that game, and he has been a big factor this season for Denver.
He has. He is an absolutely elite scoring threat. You sometimes have strikers who are comfortable in the box with their backs to the goal, taking passes and turning to shoot. You have others who are big, strong, fast, athletic guys who can run through the box and create their own chances. O'Finran is both.
Meanwhile, for the SMU Mustangs, that means they've got to have a great night by their back line. Mads Westergren is the American Athletic Conference Defensive Player of the Year. How big is he this evening?
He's enormous tonight. The Mustangs have a terrific back line all across the board. But Mads Westergren, as you said, Player of the Year in the American Athletic Conference, one of the elite defensive players in the country. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's smart, he's technically exceptional. And he and O'Finran are going to have a one-on-one matchup tonight that's going to go a long way toward deciding the outcome.
Both these teams were bounced in the second round of the NCAA tournament last year. One's going to make it on to the 16. We'll find out who over the next few hours here in Dallas. Coming up next. Welcome back to College Soccer on ESPN. A misty night in Dallas, the second round of the NCAA tournament. The number 6 seed, SMU Mustangs against Denver. John Liddle back with Steve Lansdale. Denver's starting lineup of 4-5-1 under head coach Jamie Franks. An outstanding keeper in Isaac Nami with Smith, Cronenberg, Maloli, and Aku across the back. And then you've got a versatile midfield as well, and we'll see how it all factors out today with Smith and Semmelsberger, Olsen, Bassett, and O'Toole up front. Sam Bassett, by the way, the midfielder of the year in the Summit League. And O.J. O'Finran up top. He has scored 11 goals this season. Meanwhile, for the SMU Mustangs, Kevin Hudson goes with this lineup. Cole Johnson, the keeper of the year in the American, with Pino, Huld, Westergren, and Bynum across the back. Bailey Sparks, Neve Berkovitz, and Salvo in the midfield. And it's Castro, Dahlman, and Petraeus up front for SMU head coach Kevin Hudson. And Kevin Hudson, really good friends with Jamie Franks on the other side for the Denver Pioneers. I thought it was really interesting. Both coaches talked about how much they like each other. They want to play as often as possible. Maybe not the NCAA tournament, but they want to play as often as possible.
Yeah, it might be a little less stressful if you meet in September than in late November, for sure. But you're right. These two coaches have known each other for years through the soccer community, recruiting, similar tournaments, a lot of common opponents. They've known each other and have enormous respect for each other. This is a great series if they can continue it, because you're playing a quality opponent that plays good style of soccer. Whichever team wins gets an RPI boost that way. I agree with both coaches. I would love to see these teams meet every year.
Well, they're going to meet again in 2024. They plan to. Denver would be coming to SMU after SMU went to Denver last year. Daniel Radford will be the referee in this one, as this is going to be an outstanding matchup. Radford in the middle there, and the assistant referees will be Fevzi Demirhan and Shea Yinka Kahinde in tonight's action.
Not to dwell on the SMU-Denver series, but when they met earlier this year in September, the Mustangs had to deal with going and playing at altitude.
Good point.
Next year, Denver has to come to Dallas in early September, when it'll be about 7,000 degrees. And if they're comfortable cooling their jets up in the mountains over the summer, that will be an adjustment for the Pioneers, just like the altitude was for the Mustangs this year.
Well, talking to both coaches, they like the matchup today. They also like the Quality of the weather as well. It is about 60 degrees at game time. A light mist. Can you even call it rain? And winds coming out of the south at 8 miles an hour. They feel like their players will be able to run for days in this.
Right, exactly. If it rains heavily, really heavily, then the field can turn into soup, and it's a real mess to play in. They do have to deal with the fact that the ball will skip and take funny bounces, but it's cool. It's misty but not pouring. It's a lot more comfortable for the players than it is for the fans, but it sets up as a beautiful matchup tonight.
Well, here we go. SMU in the black and Denver in the gray. We are underway. John Liddle alongside Steve Lansdale. It is the rematch. Denver won the first matchup in the regular season at the beginning of September. It was the only regular season loss for SMU, a 3-1 margin. Denver got out to a 3-0 lead in that one. SMU says, hey, we gave up some easy goals, did not play up to our quality, but still on the same token, Denver got the victory. We talked about it giving them confidence, but still for the Mustangs, can you kind of shrug it away when you give up some cheap goals like that and come up on the short end of the stick on the road?
You can't shrug it off, because at the end of the day they came home with a loss on their ledger, right? But the final score was telling, because the Mustangs actually outshot Denver 20-5 in that game.
Wow.
And for a team with an absolutely elite defense like SMU has, to give up 3 goals on 5 shots is ridiculous. And Kevin Hudson has said several times this year that was by far the Mustangs' worst half of the year. But to be fair, part of the reason it was their worst half is because Denver played really, really well in that half and took advantages of the opportunities that presented themselves.
The Mustangs have not played in a week. They played at home, hosting the conference tournament, the AAC championship against Charlotte, losing that matchup 2-1. Meanwhile, Denver lost in the semifinals of their conference tournament to Kansas City in penalties, but then won their first round matchup over LIU. A crosser, top of the box, in the direction of Berkovitz, knocked into the air. Jeldrick Dahlman backing into a defender, and Dahlman, the striker for SMU, who has 14 goals this season, called for knocking over Denver's Holger Olsen for the first foul of the game.
A little bit of an unusual bump there, as the players were back-to-back when they collided. Olsen obviously trying to protect the ball from Dahlman as he came crashing in. Dahlman, I think, was just trying to hit the brakes and not run into Olsen, and by spinning away, that doesn't change the fact that he's still 6'3" and a big, strong guy, and the laws of physics kicked into play there.
A misty evening. We'll try to keep you apprised of what's going on the field tonight, as our cameras do our very best to keep up with the action. But the early kick by Isaac Name goes into touch on the far side, much to the delight of the SMU fans who are in attendance, and of course some Denver fans have made the trip for this matchup as well. Nice job by Alex Petraeus to skirt the sideline. Petraeus feeds it in the middle to Berkovitz. A little run for SMU. Berkovitz settles it down on the touch and whistles it just wide, going left post.
Beautiful play by Berkovitz, as he was able to settle it with one touch and sort of chipped it over a defender with his second, and then tried to short hop it off the ground. Here you see him cut back across the grain between a couple defenders, and then picked it just a few inches off the ground.
SMU trying to press, and they get it inside the box once more. Castro not able to keep it. It's going over to Denver, but SMU some early activity, trying to draw first blood in this second round NCAA tournament matchup.
Mustangs are pressing a little higher than they have in, I wouldn't say all of the games, but in many of the games they've played this year, trying to give Denver just a slightly different look as the coaches go through a chess match.
Finran had the ball just go over the touchline. You know, the first time the two teams matched up, SMU pressed a little bit early, and a couple of the goals were because of that. Nice job by Cole Johnson to just pull it back on O.J. O'Finran. That is not easy to do, though, with O.J. O'Finran, the incredible athlete, running right at you.
You talk about ice in your veins, right? O.J. O'Finran's coming in at 100 miles an hour, and you look at the stat sheet and you realize that when he's around the ball in the box, good things happen for Denver. So for Cole Johnson to have the poise to step over that ball and pull it back with O'Finran blazing in at him, he has better nerves than I do, I know that.
O'Finran, a native Texan himself. Pino, near side, down to Harvey Castro, trying to turn on it. the wing, can't get a shot away, so it turns over his right shoulder and finds Pino once more. Pino back into Castro, the senior. Pino once more, just circling that left foot over the ball. Dancing over it and reversing field now 5 minutes into the match. We talked about Mads Westergren right off the bat, serves one in. It gets cleared away, and Denver with a clearance up the far side. As we take a look at what Cole Johnson did.
This is just insane. Quick touch right into the mouth of the open goal, and then just calmly pulls it back as O'Fenron slides past him. O'Fenron's got to be wondering where that ball went, because no goalie's going to do that, right? If you've got O'Fenron coming in on your shoulder like that, you launch it into the street and allow your team to regroup and get set up in front of you on a deep throw-in.
Cole Johnson, the keeper of the year in the American. Also, Christmas has come early for Cole Johnson. He got his two front teeth knocked out against Charlotte in a collision inside the 18. And so, a couple root canals later, he's all good to go up there.
I was going to mention that because one of Cole Johnson's strengths is not just stopping shots. Every goalkeeper has to be able to do that. But he can stop shots at very close range, which involves obviously quick reactions, but also a measure of fearlessness. And when he buried a couple of teeth into the scalp of an opponent a week ago, it'll be interesting to see when the traffic builds up and the chaos is building up in front of the SMU goal. Does he flinch at all? It'd be human nature to do so, but I think we've already seen he's pretty poised and cool under pressure already tonight.
O'Fenron dispossessed by Salvo, and this one goes off of O'Fenron. SMU and Denver, both teams that want to play to possession. When Denver's at their best, they're at 60% possession. You could say the same thing for SMU. So it makes for a good soccer match tonight, but how do you think that plays out?
It'll be a test of the patience of both teams, because you're right. Both of these are possession-based teams. They are used to keeping the ball, making their opponents chase, switching fields back and forth to try to find gaps in the opposition through which they can attack. And a lot of times they will play teams that get frustrated and try to play a direct style and just lob long balls over the top and let a striker run after it and try to make a play. These two teams can't do that. So each team has to be patient, knowing that for the first or second or third time this year, they may not have the ball for the majority, which is very unusual for both the Pioneers and the Mustangs.
The SMU Mustangs had an outstanding start to the NCAA tournament last year. They also got a first-round bye. And in the second round, as the first foul is called against Denver, Westergren goes down. In the first round, SMU built up a 2-0 lead at the half. Goals in the first half by Alex Petraeus and Bailey Sparks. But in the second half, Vermont put up 3 goals in the final 30 minutes of that match. I should say the final 25 minutes of that match to break the heart of the Mustangs. For the players that were on this field last year in a similar situation, how do you think that factors into their mentality and just the way they want to be, really direct with every single opportunity in tonight's match?
Well, I promise you, every player who was at SMU last year remembers that night vividly, whether they were in the starting lineup or waiting their turn on the bench. Obviously, it's disappointing to lose any time you play. And if it's in the NCAA tournament, it's really disappointing. It's disheartening because your season is over. But to lose in that fashion, to give up 3 in the last half hour of the game, was just an absolute gut punch. And if there was ever a need for reinforcement to the idea that coaches tell you about, you need to play a full 90 minutes, you cannot take your foot off the gas, that game was it. That game was the evidence that all these guys need. And the ones who weren't here last year, I promise you they've seen video of that SMU Vermont game as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And meanwhile, for the Denver Pioneers, they've run into a couple of tough matchups the last few years in the second round. As you see Pino try to sky one in on a cross, and it just got away from him. By the way, the wind has been blowing right to left across the field. It's the flag shows us that it is not quite as windy at this point, but 5 to 10 miles an hour, but something to watch out for in SMU's favor early on today. So for Denver, they've had to go on the road the last 3 years in the second round. In 2021, they lost at number 8 Clemson, as this one just touches off the head of Oliver Hald and into the waiting arms of Cole Johnson, but you saw O'Fenrin was in there as well. And then last year for the Denver Pioneers in 2022, they lost at number 4 Duke 3-1. So this is a Denver team that is used to being deep into the postseason.
Yeah, these are teams that are reflective of their coaches. These are teams that are basically professional in the way they go about their business. And winning the regular season conference tournament is nice, or regular season conference title is nice, but they have bigger expectations on both sides of this matchup tonight. They expect to be playing here tonight. They expect to be playing next week.
And they both had disappointments during the conference tournament. For Denver, a 3-3 match that ended in penalties in favor of Kansas City. Meanwhile, for the SMU Mustangs, losing at home in the championship game of the AAC tournament. Although the auto bid was on the line and SMU knew they were firmly in the NCAA tournament, that had to stay.
Well, it did. And if the Mustangs had won that, there's a very good chance that they could be playing on a number 1 seed and maybe have an additional home game if things go in their favor tonight or next week or whenever they keep playing. Sure, they knew they were in, but that didn't take away the disappointment. You could see it on their faces. You could hear it in the voice of Kevin Hudson when we talked to him about it. Really not their best performance, and they were regretful afterward because they thought they could have gotten a better result.
Mustangs, Jeldrick Dahlman trying to nip and claw and come up with a cheap turnover. Dahlman is so dangerous in the attacking third. We know this. We've seen it over and over again, including a hat trick in the semifinals of the AAC tournament against Memphis. And in addition to that, also created a PK in the loss to Charlotte for the only goal for the SMU Mustangs. Dahlman is a player to watch for Denver in this one. It's certainly the biggest player that Jamie Franks had circled on his board coming into this matchup. But there are players to watch for Denver as well. Can they get an early chance? Feeding it to the attacking third, but then Petraeus takes it away for SMU and tries to start numbers the other way to Neve Berkovitz, but with a lot of room off to the left, just did not have anybody home.
And I think he saw Harvey Castro out of the corner of his eye, but punched it way too far out in front. Castro can run, but some balls are out of reach for anybody.
For Denver, with these gray uniforms and the orange numbers as well, especially on the far side of the field on a misty night, it's going to be tough for all of us to make it out, but we'll do our best for you this evening. Two very competitive teams, two high-level soccer teams, two teams deserving of being in the final 16, but who is it going to be at the end of the night? Nice little 1-2 play by Aku to make his way past Pino, but then recovering his salvo right along the end line. And another nice play for SMU to get out of the own end, but Berkovitz gives it away, and Berkovitz is taken down. He had a knee issue against Charlotte. Goes down holding a similar extremity as he's taken down by the midfielder of the year in the Summit League, Sam Bassett.
Didn't see where Berkovitz got hit, but you're right. First thing I thought was he took a shot there last week against Charlotte. It looked like maybe he was reaching for his right ankle, but fortunately, if you are an SMU coach or player or fan, number 6 is up and running.
Back to play here. 32 minutes remaining in the opening half. John Liddle, Steve Lansdale, our entire crew in the second round of the NCAA tournament, the men's bracket. SMU got the first round bye, and for the Denver Pioneers, they're on to the second round thanks to their win at home over Long Island. And it was a clutch victory, Steve, as well, as they went down in the second half of that match and needed 2 goals 3 minutes apart in the final 10 minutes of that match in order to pick out the win.
Yeah, and it speaks to the Pioneers' comfort level and confidence in the system to keep playing and not revert to suddenly playing kickball and sending long bombs up and over the top. They kept playing their system, and it paid off with the tying and go-ahead goals.
Good job by Berkovitz to play that one off of Jason Beloli. SMU with the throw in. Neve Berkovitz, good to see him out there for SMU. There was some question as to just how bad he was hurt after that matchup against Charlotte. Could not finish the game after going down in the second half of that matchup with some kind of knee issue. But starting in this one, and was going to get a nice long look by his head coach Kevin Hudson today. Cole Johnson with a nice goal kick out to Pino. Feeds it middle for Bailey Sparks, the midfielder of the year in the American. Sparks, a creative, free-spirited player. So much confidence on the ball.
Yeah, Sparks is one of those guys who can sort of dominate that middle third. He looks like a guy who can score almost at any time, and he really can, but he's also an exceptional passer, and he's extraordinary in possession. I think as much of his Midfielder of the Year award was because of his ability to dominate possession in transition as it was for anything else.
Yeah, a goal, 5 assists. Numbers are not bad at all, but certainly the point is taken that he does so much more than just score. This ball fed in near O'Fenrin, instead taking it on for a opportunity at the goal is Denver's 17. As that opportunity, let's make sure I don't want to misidentify. Yeah, we had number 11 Holger Olsen, who just whistled it wide. Johnson not able to get a piece of that one. But Olsen had that back post to shoot for as he took over that pass intended for O'Fenrin.
We talked about the pressure that the Mustangs were applying earlier. Well, now the Pioneers are doing a little bit of it as well, and that's part of the chess match between the coaches. When do you press high? When do you back off and sit a little bit deeper? Right now, the Pioneers are applying some pressure on that back line of SMU and trying to force a mistake and a giveaway, and nearly got the beneficial result out of it there on that run.
SMU able to keep it in the attacking third. Lamar Bynum, a transfer from a Division II school in CSU Pueblo, is able to play it all the way across. SMU in possession across the midline. 17th minute of this matchup. Oliver Hall, the great distributor, down to Salvo, looking for that next level of the attack. With SMU and Denver scoreless, each team has had one good scoring opportunity. For SMU, it was Neve Berkovitz with one just wide, and you just saw Holger Olsen with a similar one just wide. Now here is a great feed inside, and Sparks is back on it, stepping in from the top of the 18, and this low line drive is ricocheted out. But that all started with Alex Petraeus making a great move along the right wing.
Petraeus made that run into the corner, and he threads it into the middle, and he just missed Jeldrick Tallman, and then coming in behind him, he just missed Harvey Castro. Bailey Sparks eventually runs onto it and cranks a shot, and immediately looks to the officials for a handball. You see him here, cranks the shot, and he's absolutely right. Pioneers lucky that the whistle wasn't blown there.
Certainly so. Westergren with the strong throw into the 18, but it is won by Denver, and the Pioneers survive an attack by the SMU Mustangs. SMU with another shot, starting to pile them up just a little bit here in Dallas.
You know, that shot by Bailey shows you, obviously, he's got a nose for the goal, but as you pointed out, he's got one goal to go with 5 assists this year. He scored the Mustangs' first goal of the season. Hasn't scored since, and still got Midfielder of the Year.
A player for Denver slips down. Petraeus has it in the middle of the field, but backtracking on him, he is dispossessed. And a good job by Denver to just play right through that. That is Aiden Semmelsberger, the 5'5" redshirt sophomore from New Mexico, was able to overtake Alex Petraeus and nip the threat in the bud. 2 shots so far for SMU, 1 on the side of Denver. Nothing officially on goal as of yet in the second round matchup in the NCAA tournament on a misty, wet night from Dallas. This ball toward the top of the 18. Sparks has it for a moment, and SMU able to play it into their possession as Bynum runs it up the right wing and loses it out, though, to Denver.
Pretty remarkable that SMU kept possession there, as Mads Westergren basically just slammed it off of Sparks' shins, and it went right to Bynum. Went out of bounds, but at least it went out of bounds 30 yards upfield.
Good save by the Pioneers. But SMU able to take it right back at the top of the 18 with Westergren. Up the field, now Bynum. Crossing all the way to the near side to Kieran Pino. Pino, the 1-2. Berkovitz back to Pino, running up the wing, looking to serve. Pino all the way down to the end line and earning the first corner of the night for SMU.
Kieran Pino is absolutely deadly coming up the left flank. He's so creative, and he can get his serves off into the middle very quickly, and he can do so many different things with him, and he's faster than he looks. You look at him, you watch him run, and you think he's not moving that fast, and next thing you know, he's gone past somebody. He is absolutely deadly, and Kevin Hudson said he might have been the Mustangs' best player in the American Athletic Conference championship tournament.
Not a player that got American Conference honors this year, but maybe deserved it, as Sparks serves it in, looking back post, in the air from Dahlman, still in the air back to Westergren, and he puts it on goal, dribbles into Isaac Nami, and there is a player down for Denver right outside the 6 as Nami comes in to politic and make some friends with Daniel Radford.
I was going to say, looks like he's running for office there, making best friends with Daniel Radford. You see the crowd go up in the air. Jeldrick Dahlman
just missed that one.
Yeah, and I know that Nami was lobbying for a whistle for an elbow. It looked to me like actually 3 bodies going up together and colliding in the air. That's just incidental contact.
Yeah, Nami, even before the play wrapped up, he was looking for a call. He was looking for some kind of foul on Jeldrick Dahlman, who had a really good jump inside and is 6'4" anyway. That is Aaron Kronenberg from Germany, the senior center back, the transfer from Georgetown, where he was a 3-year starter. Now moving into a starting role for Denver here at the end of the season. He's done a quality job, as have all these Pioneers. We're talking about shutout after shutout. 11 shutouts this season. That is second best in the nation for Isaac Nami and this defense.
We were talking to Jamie Franks before the game and asked, how many games this year has your team played in weather like this with drizzle and rain and mist? And he said, not really. We had one in Seattle that was kind of messy, and they played Oral Roberts where the rains really came. But for the most part, playing in Colorado, you either get snow or you get bright, sunny, beautiful days. Kronenberg has to feel pretty comfortable in this. German, as you said, the German player, and SMU's got a bunch of Northern European guys as well, from Germany and Denmark and Sweden. There are a bunch of players out there who are pretty comfortable in these elements.
And again, it is a type of night where you can run all night. We'll be down into the upper 50s by the time the night ends. Oh, Castro going hit to hit with Jason Belloli. And wow, love that effort by Belloli here to come in and get the header out into touch.
At 6'3", 195, Belloli is one of the bigger, stronger players on the field, and he clearly is more than comfortable playing through a player if he can't necessarily get around him.
But this Westergren run all the way down near the 18, out to Petraeus, trying to serve it in. And on that far side, Dylan Aku just, or rather Ian Smith, just takes it right in the side. And a throw in for SMU.
Ian Smith is one of the, I think, underappreciated players on this team. As a defender, you don't often think about the offensive ability, but he leads the team with 8 assists. He's sort of like a point guard for this offense.
Oh, SMU gets a goal! And excuse me, goal to go up 1-0. Bailey Sparks, the last to touch it, off the throw-in by Westergren. Isaac Nami looked like it just slipped out of his grasp. Certainly a playable ball, and SMU up 1-0.
Nami looked like he had this ball and maybe was starting to look upfield. You see it go off of Sparks.
Oh, that's rough.
Off the back of Bailey Sparks' head, and I think Nami was starting to look upfield to see if he could find a teammate to who he could throw the ball. And he's got to be just heartsick. It may be, you know, it may be something to ask later whether that ball took a little bit of a funny bounce because of the wet grass.
Absolutely. Because
it came off of Sparks' head and then skipped on the grass. But that looked like a ball that Nami had plenty of time to grab a hold of, and it just floated funny on him, and he has got to be heartsick as that ball ends up behind him.
It's the second straight year that Bailey Sparks has scored in the NCAA's second round. And Bailey Sparks puts SMU ahead 1-0. It's going to look really pretty on the stat sheet. But in the eyes of the Denver Pioneers and Isaac Nami, who has been one of the best keepers in the nation this season, it certainly is a forgettable moment. And there's no doubt his Pioneer teammates want to get that back for him. And now they're on the attack. A feed into the middle and a drive right at Cole Johnson. And Johnson is able to guide it in on a drive that was right at him as you get a good look at those two new front teeth out front.
I was going to say, it looked like he was sort of checking to make sure they were there.
That would be two. That is a one-timer by Sam Bassett, the midfielder of the year, looking for his 8th goal.
Well, we can talk about O'Fenron a lot, and we will, but Sam Bassett is an absolute stud who really is critical for... He's kind of Denver's answer to Bailey Sparks, right? He's got 7 goals, 7 assists, and he absolutely controls a lot of the transition game for Denver, sort of owning the ball in that middle third. He is critical to what Denver tries to do on a night-in, night-out basis.
Alex Petraeus, so quick, such a good dribbler, feeds it in low, and it is going to be a throw-in for SMU. A good clearance, all things considered, when it also could have been a corner. Alex Petraeus had a goal and an assist last season against Vermont in the first half of that eventual 3-2 loss here in Dallas. Now Isaac Nami might be tested again for the Pioneers. Nami, you see the numbers there this season. They've been outstanding. 12-2-5 this year, the 11 shutouts. Westergren, the long throw-in, high in the air, knocked down. SMU recovers it. Berkovitz out top to Pino, and SMU will try to reposition. Bynum serves it in low to the top of the 6. It's headed down, and on the turnaround, Jeldrick Dahlman misses wide, but Harvey Castro gives him a nice round of applause. Castro thought that feed from Bynum was perfect, and Castro got it back to Dahlman.
Yeah, it was a nice header by Castro to drop the ball back to Dahlman, and Dahlman has scored a few goals this year where he's had his back to the goal and he's able to turn 180 degrees and blast it on frame. That one he had to turn about 270 degrees. And
you've been doing your geometry. I'm proud of you.
It finally pays off. It finally pays off. I mean, but that was a corkscrew of a shot, and if he'd been able to get that on frame, that would have been one of his prettiest goals of the year.
The quickest aside, I find it funny when somebody says they want to turn their life around 360 degrees.
Right.
You know. But Steve knows his geometry. We know this much, as Kieran Pino is bounced, and a great chance for O'Fenron, who is sandwiched inside the 18, and it's taken away by SMU. And for his part, Jamie Franks, the head coach at Denver, said O.J. O'Fenron takes so much contact, and it never gets called inside the box. It really is unfair.
It is, and I think he's right.
Ooh, and Sparks and Aiden O'Toole bumped together. It's not going to be a card, but O'Toole does not agree with the foul call. And more on O'Fenron.
Yeah, O'Fenron, we see this in every sport, right? Where if there's a player who is bigger and stronger than all the opponents who end up defending those players, they often take a beating. I mean, think about the biggest, strongest basketball players, like a Shaquille O'Neal or somebody. You know, his coaches his entire career in college and the pros, and I'm assuming high school, complained that opposing teams just did everything but gang tackle him because they didn't get calls, because the general assumption was he's so big and strong that he can take it and he can absorb it, and maybe he really didn't feel it. Well, the fact is, it's still a foul, and O'Fenron deals with that a lot, and I think Jeldrick Dahlman deals with that a bit on the other end as well.
Well, he does at 6'4". Now, maybe not quite the explosive type athlete that O'Fenron is. In comparing the two, we asked both coaches to kind of compare the two. They both admitted that Dahlman is not quite at that elite level athletically, but at the same time, they both can get it done, and they're both big, strong dudes. Great play here by Alex Petraeus. Petraeus trying to go inside. Dahlman reaches for it, but it is just wide of him, and you see the slick turf. SMU able to get it back for a moment, though, and Salvo touches it out to Pino. SMU has definitely held the possession in this first half.
That play by Bailey Sparks, though, also showed his ability to retain possession for SMU, because he simply put his body between one of the Pioneers and the ball and was able to flick it away. And it's one of those things that will never show up on a stat sheet. But Bailey Sparks does that all day, every day. And it's one of the reasons he's so dominant in the midfield, keeping possession for SMU.
SMU got down 3-0 on the road at Denver the first time the two teams matched up. Seems like I don't know, a couple seasons ago, but it was back on September the 1st. Here they've claimed a 1-0 lead on an excuse-me goal by Bailey Sparks on a header, on a throw into the box off a set piece. And the Mustangs up 1-0 thanks to that 23rd minute goal. Now looking for more in Dallas. Denver definitely a capable team. They've already come from behind once in the NCAA tournament to pick up a win at home against LIU on Thursday. Sparks picked up that goal, his second of the season. And Denver gets a look at a free kick here. It'll be angled out to the left about 40 yards from the goal. And they'll give it to Sam Bassett to try to get things started. Bassett has the lone shot on goal in this match as he turned and whistled one low against Cole Johnson right into his breadbasket. Bassett gets us started, leaning in. Johnson punches it away, but he's out of position. It's chipped over, and again Johnson trying to get after it and punch it, but a foul, or an offside, excuse me, eventually called here against Denver. And Cole Johnson, the first chance he's really had an opportunity to get physical, he shows the willingness.
I was going to say, I think our question about his fearlessness has been answered. He comes out and just collides twice, including on the second one, he took down his own defender, Lamar Bynum. I think any concerns about whether Cole Johnson's nerves might have frayed just a little bit since a week ago can be put to rest.
Stays 1-0 SMU. 15.5 left in the first half. Pino trying to start a run. Poked out from behind. We'll see if Denver can build something. Again, both these teams wanting to possess. So far, SMU has held the possession dramatically in the opening half. Not that Denver hasn't been without a couple of opportunities as Denver gets ready to bring in a couple players into the match.
I agree with what both coaches said, that these two teams play the right way. They play a good brand of soccer, keeping possession. You're not going to see a lot of ping pong series with the ball bouncing back and forth from one team to the other. Both teams do a beautiful job at maintaining possession.
Dangerous attack into the 18, and a yellow card on Denver here. How about this? Obviously politicking for a call as he walked inside was the Pioneer in question, but instead he's going to pick up the card, and that goes against the left outside back and the first team All Summit player Ian Smith, who is hunting his first goal of the season.
I think that has to be because of something he may have said. You see him running onto the ball here, and he started to go to the ground before he even made contact with Oliver Hald. So maybe this is partly for trying to sell it.
And Hald just stood
I don't know.
there.
Oliver Hald held his ground. There was certainly a significant collision. Smith and Hald are both big, strong players, and somebody's going to hit the deck when those two collide.
Denver's 24th card overall this season as Ian Smith picks up his second this year. The first card of the match issued to either side. Oh, nice feed down to Berkovitz to get something started 4-on-4. Berkovitz drops it off. Petraeus drives it low, and it is just driven to the near side and out by Denver. But SMU starting to build with intention toward that north side goal. Petraeus looks like a man on a mission. The sophomore out of Denmark was the preseason offensive player of the year in the league. Didn't have the best year, the year that he wanted to have, but certainly has started well. Now Berkovitz, the rookie of the year in the AAC, overtakes it.
Yeah, the Mustangs were able to get a sweep of every conference award except one, and that being the offensive player of the year. And Jeldrick Dahlman certainly made his statement about whether he should have won it with his hat trick against Memphis in the conference tournament, but Berkovitz has been a wonderful addition to the Mustangs this year. He was a late addition to the recruiting class, and he came off the bench at the beginning of the year. And ever since he got in the starting lineup, you can't get him out of there.
I think SMU's level went to a new spot whenever Berkovitz got in. At least that's how SMU felt about it. As Dahlman has it in a crowd. Dahlman over to Petraeus. Petraeus trying to create inside the 18. The left-footed shot is just wide as he went upper 90, but a good idea by Alex Petraeus.
Jelder Dahlman was clearly looking for a shot, but the Pioneers did a really nice job bracketing him with a couple of defenders. So instead, he lays it off to the side to Alex Petraeus. And Petraeus with a nice left-footed shot. Yes, it went a little bit wide, but if he even creates the impression that he can cut back in the middle and shoot lefty as well as hitting the jets and going around that right corner, that changes the way opposing teams have to defend number 16.
Dominic Calai coming in for Denver. And a couple other players. Lucas Fisher is in as well. As it's going to be SMU's ball on a foul and a free kick on the way. Or rather, it just went into touch. My apologies. As Denver brings several players into the match for the first time. They also have Bryce Willoughby in the match for the first time, replacing O.J. O'Finran up top. And Willoughby is a guy who scored in 3 of his last 4, including against LIU.
Yeah, he got the tying goal for the Pioneers against Long Island. And if you've seen a clip of it, it was something to behold. There was a cross from the left corner, and he went up in the air and got his head on it. And I think he was about 2 feet above everyone around him. He's a big, strong kid, and he can jump out of the building.
Like he was playing against junior hires out there.
Yeah, exactly. It was an absolutely beautiful goal.
As SMU is also going to go into their bench in response to Denver's 3. SMU brings 2 into the match as Berkovitz in the midfield and Castro at the wing come out. And for the SMU Mustangs, they get number 13 in there, J.P. Jordan, who's been a starter at SMU, come off the bench recently, a defensive midfielder. And also into the match for the Mustangs is Frederick Skilberg, who can play in the midfield or can play at a wing spot. Cole Johnson tested a little bit, but gives it back to Hall along the wing. Hall with a nice little 2-step, because we are here in Texas, to get around. Now Pino loses his footing, and right on the ball is Semmelsberger. Goes out front. Denver trying to build something toward the goal with 11 minutes left in the first half, but that feed to the far side was just too far out in front of Ian Smith for him to catch up.
It was a very nice run by Semmelsberger, not only getting through 2 defenders, but getting through 2 of the Mustangs' best defenders in Oliver Hall and Kieran Pino. Just relentless pressure. It wasn't necessarily the prettiest, as he had to force it through Oliver Hall, but did a very nice job keeping possession for DU.
Winner of this match gets the Oregon State Portland winner. If SMU wins, that game would be at home. Meanwhile, depending on other results, it could be at Oregon State, or rather at Portland, who is a higher seed. Or obviously, if Portland doesn't win, we'll have to see how that goes down if Denver and Portland end up winning. However, the SMU Mustangs know that they've got a shot to host another game, this time in the final 16, if they pick up a win tonight. Denver and SMU have met once before in the NCAA tournament. That was back in 2015. That was at altitude on campus in Denver. Beat Denver 1-0 in extra time. Back then it was the golden goal. And that win in Denver sent SMU on to the 3rd round that year. The lone goal in this one, Bailey Sparks, his 2nd goal of the year. Header off the back of his head on an entry pass by Max Westergren. Really should have been stopped for all intents and purposes by Isaac Nami, but it drifted through his hands. Now SMU looking for a second. Nice pass down to Skilberg, centers it in front, touchdown. Alex Petraeus gets a drive on it, but blocked. Back to Skilberg, centers it, it's still alive, and Dahlman could not put it home. And it's going to be a foul on Skilberg here to give it back to Denver. But what action by the the SMU Mustangs on that possession.
You see the cross into the middle by Skillberg here. And Dahlman is 6 feet from the mouth of the goal, and he gets past Nami. He's got to be trying to figure out how in the world he wasn't able to find a rebound that he could tuck into the back of the net, as Aaron Cronenberg went down in the collision with Skillberg.
Cronenberg able to whisk it away. But Skillberg, a very talented guy to be able to bring off the bench. He started a lot of matches for SMU over the last few seasons. And Skillberg ready to make an impact. And here he comes again up the left wing. Looking for help from Dahlman. Dahlman turns. Finds Alex Petraeus. Petraeus trying to get it back to Skillberg. A deflected ball. Trying to chase it down, but he doesn't need to because it's going to be a corner for SMU.
Yeah, nice decision by Skillberg. Let the ball do the work, get the corner, and allow the Mustangs to set up their set piece here, as Bailey Sparks is going to tee it up in the northwest corner.
SMU with a little over 7 corners a match this season. That is 6th best in the nation. The wind is blowing in at the goal. Bailey Sparks getting it cranked up for SMU. Sparks in the air, back post, a line drive just over the top. Now Skillberg gets a second chance at it. He goes back post, and the secondary opportunity for Dahlman is just into the side of the net. Good look for SMU, even though the first offering by Sparks did not find pay dirt.
Yeah, nice job by Dahlman, and the serve was beautiful. And nice job as well by Dominic Kalai, sort of riding Dahlman out of bounds, because Dahlman was there.
Yeah.
And if he didn't get just that slight little contact, he might have been able to twist his body and torque that ball right on frame.
Just under 7 to play in the first half. The number 6 team in the nation, or the number 6 seed, I should say, SMU. They were in the coaches poll, number 2 in the final coaches poll, as Jalen Mitchell has come on for SMU to play an attacking midfield spot. And Denver, number 23 in the final coaches poll as well. 2 quality teams doing battle here in Dallas. Jalen Mitchell in for Alex Petraeus. You also got Jose Ortiz in up front for SMU, a senior, in place of Dahlman. Cole Johnson's distribution has been good out of the back tonight. And here comes Skillberg through the middle. Plays it out to Mitchell. Has help behind him. If he sees it, plays it out to Bynum. Bynum drifts it in. Over the top. Skillberg just missed it. And a good job to get on top of it and send it away by Denver's Dylan Acu.
Jose Ortiz was absolutely looking for a bicycle kick there, but he felt one of the Pioneers on his hip, and he wasn't going to be able to get up in the air and get the full rotation over the top. But he was thinking it.
He tried one to try to tie the match up late in the match against Charlotte in the AAC Tournament Championship game. He's got that certainly in the toolbox, if you will.
If I'm not mistaken, he scored on one last year.
A good feed to Ortiz, and he's got the goal! Bicycle, it is not, but a deep drive from 20 yards out, and Ortiz puts SMU up 2-0.
And you see the players going and climbing into the bleachers down there. I believe that's the women's soccer team down there celebrating. Jose Ortiz is one of those guys, whether he plays 90 minutes or 90 seconds, he has a nose for the goal, and that was a beautiful shot. It wasn't 100 miles an hour, but you teach offensive players to pick a corner, and that was absolutely buried in the lower left corner. That was perfect. There were not a lot of goalkeepers who were going to reach that. Because remember, Name is a guy who's been to U.S. national team training camps. He's trained with the Colorado Rapids first team. He is an elite goalkeeper, and if he can't reach it, there aren't many who can.
4th goal of the season for Jose Ortiz. It comes in the 40th minute. And just like last season, this seeded SMU team getting the first round bye. In the second round, going up 2-0 in the first half against a visiting team.
I was going to say, how many, you talked about this a few moments ago, how many of these guys right now are thinking, remember Vermont?
You bet they.
This is not over. There are 50 minutes to go in this game, and if you're nursing a 2-goal lead, 50 minutes might as well be 50 days. This is an eternity.
Jose Ortiz's 4th goal of the season. By the way, looks like the SMU bench has gotten a talking to. Stern warning at the very least. As Daniel Radford took a run all the way over to the SMU bench.
And Kevin Hudson just explained to Jamie Franks what was said or what was going on. How cool is it mid-game to see two head coaches come over and shake hands?
Wow, Jeldrick Dahlman getting a yellow card while on the bench. And he was the man that went to the bench so Jose Ortiz could take his striker position. So very interesting. So Dahlman will be playing on yellow when he gets back out there in the second half. 5 minutes left in the first half. Plenty of time for Denver to make a mark and see if the Pioneers can get it done. But SMU has been dangerous in this opening half. Nice play by Ortiz. Little heel kick back to Mitchell and a throw in for SMU.
Yeah, and a nice play by Mitchell there, realizing he was penned in on that touch line and just played it off one of the opponents.
John Liddle, Steve Lansdale, our entire ESPN crew in the NCAA tournament. Second round. Round of 32, if you will. SMU got the opening bye thanks to their outstanding regular season, ranked in the top 5 for much of that regular season. Their lone regular season blemish was to these very same Denver Pioneers. The start of September, a 3-1 loss. But SMU buzzed through the rest of the regular season. Denver, their only 2 regulation losses this season came on the road to incredibly quality teams this season. On the road at Portland, again, a ranked team or a seeded team, if you will. And then on the road at Pittsburgh. And that was in September as well. Those were the only 2 regular season blemishes. Both Denver and SMU went unbeaten with 1 tie through their conference seasons.
We talked at the Open about how both of these teams like to play a possession style and how that can be frustrating, especially if you're on a team that's used to having the ball for the majority of the game. Well, if it's frustrating to chase a possession style team in a normal situation, chasing when you're down a couple of goals has to be infuriating. The Pioneers, as we've said, have plenty of time. Obviously, we're still in the first half. They cannot alter their system, their style just yet. But chasing the Mustangs, who will gladly sit here and play catch for the next 3 minutes to get to the intermission, has to be a little bit maddening for the Denver players.
Long feed up the middle of the field, and Bailey Sparks is fouled hard on that header attempt. Sparks had the position. Looks like he's going to be okay, right in that American Conference logo.
That didn't feel as good for Sparks as the last one that hit him in the back of the head, because the last one was a ball and it ended up in the goal.
Kronberg again in there for Denver. Now 2.5 left in the first half, and another good set piece opportunity for SMU. They'll have the lefty Pino or the righty Sparks with the service. It is Sparks over the top, right at the goal, punched out, but a chance for Skillberg on the back end to play it back to Salvo. Gets it right back to Skillberg, wide left. Skillberg dancing in, centers it in front. Ortiz slipped up and couldn't turn on it.
A little surprising that Name didn't catch that ball and he punched it out, because there weren't any players within a couple of yards of him. It's not like he was being bumped off the ball.
I completely agree. I wonder how difficult the ball is to catch on this wet evening. I wonder if that's factoring in his head at all.
Sure, it factors in. I mean, you know, the goalies have gloves, the goalies have great hands, and obviously they've played in it before, they're used to it. But you're right, it is slippery. It is slippery. And, you know, if you start to question the confidence after giving up a couple of goals, one of which was absolutely not his fault, maybe you get a little trigger happy and just want to punch it out of danger's way. But I think if you're Name, you want to catch that one cleanly and let your teammates build out of the back.
Not going to have to play in the first half. Denver, a little better possession here late in the first half. It seems as though SMU is doing a lot less pressing here late in the first half, not wanting to give up anything cheap, if you will, after giving up 3 pretty tough goals to swallow on the road at Denver the first time the 2 teams matched up. And here's a nice run up the right side for Aku. Good ball for him. He reverses it back to the middle. Sparks, the little bit of a push that he gets away with to win the ball. Turnabout fair play, says Aiden Semmelsberger, but he's not going to get away with that foul.
And it's hard to get away with that when you're about 10 feet in front of the official. And he got Jose Ortiz up around the shoulder blades, and you see him laughing. He knows he didn't commit the greatest crime in the world, but Ortiz drew the whistle.
Ortiz has the goal and made it 2-0 for SMU. A blast from about 24 yards out. Low and left. Isaac Nami got a little touch on it, but not able to hold it out. The final 8 seconds of this first half being counted out in Dallas. The SMU Mustangs, goals from Bailey Sparks and Jose Ortiz. And for the second straight year, they lead 2-0 after the first half in the second round of the NCAA tournament here at Washburne Soccer and Track Stadium. We hit the half in Dallas. The Denver Pioneers have faced deficits before in the NCAA postseason. Are they going to be able to come back again against a poised SMU Mustang team that think this year is different? More next on ESPN. Welcome back into Dallas. NCAA Tournament Soccer on ESPN. The number 6 seed SMU Mustangs leading Denver in the rematch 2-0 at the break here at Washburn Soccer and Track Stadium. And welcome upstairs. I'm John Liddle alongside Steve Lansdale. In the first half, we just got the numbers. SMU with a 70 to 30% possession advantage in that first half. And for two teams that really both want to play to possession, that's got to be frustrating for the Pioneers. Absolutely.
If you're Kevin Hudson and the SMU coaches, you're ecstatic with those numbers.
Yeah.
But for Coach Franks and the Pioneers, that's got to change, because Denver's not a team that plays kickball over the top and allows, their strikers to go run onto the ball and make one-on-one plays. That's not who they are. They build out of the back. They need to get into transition through the middle third, and right now that hasn't been happening through the first 45 minutes.
We've talked about it a couple times in the first half. If there's an elephant in the room, I believe, let's just go ahead and talk about the thing. The 2-goal lead at the break for the SMU Mustangs, right where they were against Vermont last year. So what is Kevin Hudson, what are the assistant coaches saying to these guys at the break in the locker room just below us?
My guess is the SMU coaches didn't have to bring that up, because all the returning players who endured that night last year undoubtedly said it to their teammates as they were walking off the field. Remember Vermont, remember last year, a 2-goal lead with 45 minutes left. That 45 minutes seems like an eternity. So it's not to say they took their foot off the gas last year. I don't think that's accurate. I think you simply have to say that Vermont played really, really well in the second half and earned a victory. But every one of those Mustangs knows about that game. They've seen that game if they didn't play in it, and they're talking about it right now. If anything, the SMU coaches are telling their players to turn it up a notch, try to maintain possession even more, make smart passes, don't take silly risks, and keep possession. If they can repeat the 70 to 30 possession imbalance in the second half, then they're moving on.
SMU Mustangs don't lose leads a lot. They haven't lost a lead this year. Can they hold it again? We'll find out when we come back. The SMU Mustangs leading the Denver Pioneers 2-0 at the break. Welcome back. Halftime in Dallas. It's NCAA Tournament Soccer second round action. The seeded team, number 6 SMU, up on Denver at the half 2-0. John Liddle back alongside Steve Lansdale. And let's look at the tournament scoreboard and what has transpired so far. 4 American Athletic Conference teams were in this tournament, and 1 remains. That's the SMU Mustangs, as Charlotte, the team that bounced SMU in the AAC tournament final, lost to Clemson 3-0. FIU fell to the number 7 seed Virginia 2-1 in overtime. It was a 93rd minute goal by Virginia that put them up, and they were able to hold off FIU for the remainder of the 17 minutes. Memphis, after a first round win, gets taken down by North Carolina in the second round 2-0. And another seeded team picks up a win as New Hampshire tops Syracuse 3-0. Now the winner of this game gets the winner of Oregon State and Portland. And Oregon State's on the road, traveling all the way across the state over to Portlandia. Well, they're up 1-0 at the break there. And the winner of that game gets the winner of this SMU Denver team. If it's SMU with the win, then either of those teams would have to make that long flight to Dallas. We'll come back with stats and highlights from the opening half with the SMU Mustangs up on Denver 2-0 here on ESPN. Welcome back into Dallas. The number 6 seed SMU Mustangs leading on Denver 2-0 at the break. John Liddle back alongside Steve Lansdale. Some great action from the first half. And let's take a look at it, if you don't mind me asking. Denver right off the bat getting an outstanding opportunity.
Yeah, Olsen getting this shot here. Cole Johnson just a step late getting that foot out. You see him doing the splits, and that missed by inches.
Coming right back, though, the excuse me, back of the head header. Bailey Sparks on the board.
Yeah, Isaac Name would kill to have that one back. It was bouncing in. It may have skipped on some wet turf, but he would love to have that one over because that one he should have saved.
Cole Johnson, fearless, even without his two front teeth.
Yeah, a week after losing a couple of teeth, we were wondering how his aggressiveness was going to be. I think that answers that in that little shot right there. Then you see Ortiz spinning away from a defender, 2 touches, lower left corner. Name gets a hand on it, but that is pinpoint accurate by Jose Ortiz and gives the Mustangs the same margin they had in their first playoff game last year.
Here are the stats from the first half. We talked a lot with Denver head coach Jamie Franks about how his team really doesn't give up a lot of shots. I tell you, SMU, that 9-2 advantage in shots, I think it's legitimate in this first half. The Mustangs have had more opportunities, there's no doubt.
It is, but, you know, on weather like this, when the field is a little bit like a skating rink, it's a little easier to pull the trigger from distance because the ball does take funny skips on wet turf. And again, we don't know whether the ball took a slightly unusual bounce on Bailey Sparks' goal. That's something only Name can answer. But coaches will tell you when you're playing in the rain or even when you're playing on a misty night like tonight, pull the trigger. If you can get the ball on frame, take a shot, bang it off the ground, and see if you can get it to skip past a goalkeeper.
So the second half is upon us. Mads Westergren, the Defensive Player of the Year in the AAC. He and his back line, along with Cole Johnson, are going to be counted on in the second half to try to make this 2-goal margin hold up. Bailey Sparks got the initial goal off the assist by Westergren, and then it was Jose Ortiz in the 40th minute. That drive to put the SMU Mustangs up 2-0. And we talked a lot in the first half about what it would take for the SMU Mustangs to close things out. Jeldrick Dahlman immediately getting in there, and even a first-year player, a graduate transfer, getting in there as a vocal leader for SMU. What do you think he's telling his team heading to the second half?
Well, exactly. He's a first-year player at SMU, but he's not a first-year college player. This is his 5th team in 5 years, and the Mustangs quickly realized that this guy is a leader, not just in terms of scoring, and he is telling them exactly what you're describing. 45 minutes is an eternity. 2 goals is not nearly enough. They have to go into this half treating it as if it's still tied, or maybe even, I mean, if you can talk yourself into believing that you're down a goal. They've got to play with urgency and intensity and try to keep the Pioneers back on their heels. Don't sit back and wait for the Pioneers to come at you because they have too much talent to give them opportunities without contested resistance.
The Pioneer players to watch out for, and the Pioneer players that have a possibility of getting in the mix. O.J. O'Fenron out front, plus their playmaking 10. Sam Bassett, the midfielder of the year in the Summit League. Bassett, 7 goals, 7 assists this season. And here's a play in by Smith to the back post. Another punch away from O'Fenron by Cole Johnson. A nice play.
Beautiful play by Johnson, who had O'Fenron right on his back, and we can see O'Fenron how he basically climbed the ladder. I mean, his head was significantly above Johnson's. He wasn't as high as Johnson's fist, which is why the Mustangs goalkeeper was able to punch it away, but terrific play by Johnson.
It was outstanding because that was a gorgeous feed by Ian Smith, the first team all-conference player, and Dahlman is going to be called for a foul here. Let's get a look here as Ian Smith serves it in.
And you see Smith, and remember, this is the guy who leads the team in assists. He has 8 assists. He knows how to find number 8 up front. He's done it several times this year.
Smith's 8 assists, 26th in the NCAA this season. Yeah, he's found O'Fenrin a time or two. O.J. O'Fenrin with 11 goals this season. And Dahlman takes this one away. SMU already up 2-0. Dahlman throwing on the brakes, looking for help. Slides it across. Has the help he needs from Castro, and that one is blocked out front.
Some of the volunteer referees on the SMU bench were looking for a handball on Castro's shot as it got snuffed out. But beautiful play by Dahlman, first to get the steal, and then, as you said, throwing on the brakes and finding his teammate across the other side of the box.
It was tough for the National Weather Service to pick up whether or not it would be raining tonight because, you know, just this misty atmosphere doesn't really read on the radar. But make no mistake, it's basically lightly raining, and it has been all evening. It almost looks like a fog on the field right now, making that turf very slick. And which way will the bounces go in the second half as Bailey Sparks takes one away? SMU looks for numbers. Petraeus so dangerous. Tries to get that advantage, but Ian Smith hooks it away.
Wonderful play by Smith, holding his ground against one of the fastest players in the country. If Petraeus gets around the corner, he's gone. Nice job by Ian Smith, getting possession back for Denver.
Petraeus' only goal this season came against Denver. Up that far side, the Pioneers looking to create, but just out in front of Denver on that run up the far sideline. It rolls over the end line for a goal kick.
Here you have Dahlman after the steal, and again hits the brakes and has the wherewithal not to force a shot. He sees number 11 on the far side, and then Castro got a shot away, but it was snuffed out immediately. Nice recovery by the Denver defense.
Vertical ball by Westergren. Something you see a lot from SMU in this position, but maybe Denver creeping up a little bit in this second half, especially down by 2 goals. SMU might have some more direct opportunities to attack in the second half.
Sure. The Pioneers are going to have to press the issue a little bit, right? They're not at the point of really changing their shape yet by adding another forward or anything like that. But they have to press the issue. They have to try to create chances. And when they do that, that means there's open space somewhere behind them. And it'll be up to the Mustangs to find those spaces and try to play through them.
Only 2 shots in the first half by Denver. One of them was on goal. Right at Cole Johnson. Low and on frame. Another one in the air, punched away. And this time contact inside the box by O.J. O'Fenrin, was desperately trying to get in on Cole Johnson. And Johnson's punch helped keep this a scoreless match for Denver.
Yeah, I think the offside flag may have been up as well. But again, Cole Johnson has been absolutely fearless back there. Didn't see a lot of shots in the first half, only 2 shots and 1 on goal. But boy, there have been some chances where he's had to throw his body into harm's way, and he's done that very willingly and very well.
Kieran Pino inside to Dahlman, chips it to Alex Petraeus as SMU is in again. Petraeus, a deflected ball past Dahlman, raised to the backside. Pino trying to keep it in, and he does, to keep the pressure on. Pino with the nifty footwork. Pino trying to get to the end line. Pino trying again, and on his feed, it is going to be a corner. Wow. Kieran Pino, all kinds of off speed, throwing junk like a pitcher coming out of the bullpen.
How would you like to be defending this? You see him get to the end line, and I'm not sure the ball didn't get over the end line, but SMU got the corner kick. But he stepped over the ball and crossed his feet in front of it so many times. If you're defending that, it's got to look like there are 6 soccer balls sitting in front of you, and you don't know where it's going.
Through the mist, Bailey Sparks. Wind blowing out a little bit. Back post, trying to keep it in. Berkovitz, but Neve Berkovitz racing to it, could not quite keep it off that goal line. Good idea by Sparks. There's a crowd right in front of the net, and Berkovitz might have been all alone back post. Denver needs a connection. Here's Ian Smith, but he's dispossessed by Bynum. Bynum has started every game for SMU since coming over from CSU Pueblo. A handling call at midfield on Sam Bassett. SMU with a quick restart.
Bynum's been a really nice addition to the back end for SMU. Obviously, the guys who score the goals usually get the attention, and so that's why people who have watched SMU soccer have talked an awful lot about Jeldrick Dahlman, and deservedly so. But Bynum has been absolutely rock steady from day one. He took over that outside right back spot in the preseason and hasn't given it up.
An electric All-American at the D2 level and a very solid player here at the D1 position. Here are the Pioneers with another chance that's off the back heel of an SMU player and into touch far side for a quick throw-in. Pioneers trying to keep the urgency on. Alex Petraeus called for that two-hand shove in the back, and a great restart on the way for the Pioneers.
Petraeus didn't like the call because he didn't shove him very hard, but it was absolutely the right call. And I think you look at it one of two ways. Either one, you're frustrated that he got whistled for that, but on the other hand, here's your right wing playing defense on the left side about 80 yards back from where he normally lines up. And that is evidence of SMU treating this like defending is an 11-man job, and it is.
Cole Johnson ready for this restart. The serve in by Bassett. It is in front, and O'Fenrin got one look at it and chips it high.
That is an impossibly difficult ball to control, coming in that high with that much spin, and again with the water in the air, the mist. And O'Fenrin almost gets this on goal on a volley about a little over ankle high. That would have been a spectacular goal if he got it on frame.
That is not going to count. Another handling on Denver. I know that your heart skipped a beat as we came back from the replay and you saw that. However, Tyler Schomer knocked it down with his right arm in order to get the opportunity. Here's what we missed. An obvious handball. SMU leading 2-0. Same position they were in last year at halftime against Vermont. Vermont came back to win it 3-2. Mustangs looking for a different result this time around against Denver. Meanwhile, Denver erased a 1-0 disadvantage to LIU to come back and win. And the ball down to Jeldrick Dahlman. Dahlman not quite able to keep it.
Nice feed by Petraeus to Delman running on a diagonal run through the box. If they switch those roles, maybe SMU still has possession because Petraeus might have been able to track that down. Delman just a half a step late.
Dahlman pressuring Denver out of their own end. And this lucky bounce all the way up the right side for O'Fenrin, and an obvious foul call. This one on Pino for another good free kick opportunity for the Pioneers.
We talked about Jeldrick Dahlman hitting the brakes a few moments ago on the south end of the field. O'Fenrin did the exact same thing. He was running onto the ball. He saw Kieran Pino coming at 100 miles an hour, and he just stopped on a dime and let Pino run him over.
Wise play. Here come the Pioneers with another restart. Their last chance. It's their best of the second half on this misty night. Bassett, the serve, this time higher to the back post. Loose ball, still inside the 18. It is controlled. The centering feed, a spin on it, knocked down, off the post. O'Fenrin spins, and an offside on the Pioneers after that desperate attempt.
That flag was up, and I think Denver got maybe 2 or even 3 more shots after the flag went up. Cole Johnson certainly didn't see the flag go up. And that is a cause for panic when you've got that many bodies, especially when one of them is O.J. O'Fenrin.
Jason Booli able to keep it off the goal line. And then finally the whistle comes, and audibly we could see, or we could hear, I should say, because that's how audibly works. It's with your ears.
There you go.
Audibly, Craig Ray, we were able to hear finally that whistle. And with that being the fact, yes, it is offside.
Got all that?
I got it. It's like you in geometry. I am all over it. Just give me a couple cracks. 11 minutes gone in the second half. SMU up 2-0 on Denver. But Denver certainly threatening. What have you seen from the Pioneers in the second half when it comes to being a better threat offensively?
they're being patient, but they're pressing the issue a little bit more. And O'Fenrin, for much of the first half, was the only guy up front. And now you see the Pioneers with more numbers. They're adding 1 or 2 midfielders, pushing up to join him a little bit, which they have to do. Now we're closing in on 30 minutes left, and it's a 2-goal margin. They're starting to stretch out, and that, again, that means there's space behind them. And if the Mustangs can get possession, those are gaps that the Mustangs can play through, either to retain possession or counterattack for opportunities of their own on the other end.
Certainly looks like Denver has changed their shape at least a little bit in the second half. Hald sends this one away. It's kept by the Pioneers. Dahlman is held up for an obvious foul as Dominique Pali would just not let go, and number 5 in gray picks up the yellow card.
He did, and it's unfortunate to get a card, but he absolutely had to do it there because Dahlman had at least a step, maybe 2, and you see number 5 reach out, and yeah, he's got both arms wrapped around him. Yeah, did everything but lock up a seatbelt around him, and you don't want to see the yellow, but you also don't want to see number 27 on a breakaway toward your goal because he's put 14 of them in the back of the net this year.
Dahlman may not be the fleetest of feet, but can certainly cover a lot of ground in a short period of time with that 6'4" frame. SMU on the restart. Long ball. And Alex Petraeus is onside. Petraeus out to Sparks. Feeds it back up top. Hald, great distributor. Feeds it down. There's Dahlman at the top of the 18. Dahlman so patient, wings it out wide. Castro, the serve. It's knocked down, and it is played away by Denver with a little over 32 minutes left in the match.
The more the clock ticks, the more patient the Mustangs can afford to be. That doesn't mean you don't keep trying to play forward. You obviously have to. You're not going to stick 11 people back for a team picture in front of your own goal, but every second that ticks off that clock, the Mustangs can afford to be patient, look for perfect passes, make conservative, smart decisions. You don't have to win by 10. You just got to win by 1. And if Denver never gets the ball back, Denver can't catch you.
SMU 70% possession in the opening half. They'd love for a similar second half effort. Pino back down to Castro. Back to Pino for the one-time feed to the top of the 6. Another punch out. And Bailey Sparks runs onto it. Just doesn't look like Isaac Nami trusts his gloves to handle those balls coming in. The chip in toward Berkovitz. That's cleared away by the Pioneers out near midfield where O'Fenrin is not able to run underneath it.
I agree with you. That's at least the 3rd time that Isaac Nami could have clearly caught the ball in a fairly uncontested position without a Mustang within breathing room of him. And all 3 times he's punched the ball away. I don't know if it's an issue with the gloves. I don't know what's going into that decision because he's such an extraordinary goalkeeper. It's unlike him to give up a chance at possession to the opponent by punching it away.
Good takeaway by Lucas Fisher near midfield for the Pioneers. But Denver is going to have to reverse the field in order to try to advance it against this SMU D. SMU's defense this season with 8 shutouts. It's a nice mark. Not the 11 of Denver this season. However, SMU's goals against average as a team this season has actually been better than that of Denver's, as it comes in at a .77. Denver's a .88 coming into the match. Obviously, that will change after SMU putting up 2 goals already, still with 30 minutes left in regulation. Bradley Sparks, nice feed out to Castro. Really had to lean out to even get the toe on it.
I don't know that he was even aiming at Castro. I think he was aiming maybe toward Oliver Hald, and it deflected off of one of the Pioneers. And fortunately for SMU, it ended up going straight to Harvey Castro. Sometimes it's
a happy accident.
Sure.
Happy accident. That's what my parents said. John Liddle, Steve Lansdale, our entire crew here in Dallas. Great to have you with us. Alex Petraeus, an overlapping run over his right shoulder, but he goes middle down to Dahlman, tries to touch it back toward Petraeus, but Dahlman's feed was misguided. This is a play on. And Denver wants a call out of it, obviously. Here's Petraeus throwing on the brakes, finding Bynum. Petraeus again, marked by 2. To the middle, Dahlman, the one-timer to Sparks, trying to feed it inside. And Harvey Castro is knocked by Isaac Nami after Nami picked up the ball right in the shoulder. And Castro smarting after that little shove.
Yeah, a little bit uncharacteristic of Nami, and risky. Because if the officials had interpreted that differently than just a play on, he could be staring at a penalty kick. But Castro, the way he went down, I thought maybe initially that he had gotten a shot into the face.
Nearly a fortuitous takeaway for Denver, but SMU was there to play it back out near midfield. This misty night in Dallas, Denver Pioneers need 2 goals in the next 28 minutes to keep it going. Good cross to the top of the 18, but backtracking is Berkovitz. Great play by Pino, flipping it back to Castro, who carries it to the corner and ends up in a goal kick for SMU. That is some really good defensive work by the Mustangs.
It really is. And again, you saw Berkovitz streaking back from the offensive the front end for SMU to help back on defense, and then, as you said, Pino playing it backward. A little bit of a flashy play, but a smart play as SMU was able to keep possession.
And obviously a throw-in went out of bounds on the sideline rather than the end line. Everything a little bit tougher to see when you're talking about 100 yards away on the far side through the mist and the rain tonight. And the Mustangs see well enough to see their way on to the third round of the NCAA tournament, the round of 16. We will find out. The winner of this match moves on to get the winner of Portland and Oregon State. If it is SMU, that match will be at home next weekend. Likely on Sunday, we understand. Sparks taken down in the midfield. An obvious foul on Dominic Kalai, who is playing on yellow, but no such card issued here.
You got to think Portland and Oregon State would love a night like this, wouldn't they? Isn't this sort of traditional fall weather in Oregon?
That's a postcard type of night, I think. This right here. And like you can actually kind of see the other side of the street. Kind of.
Kind of is good enough.
No knock on Oregon. I really like Oregon, by the way. That area. It's just sometimes it gets a little rainy. Castro out wide. Pino tries to drive it in. The angle is such that it is a throw-in. Under 27 minutes to play.
And you say it gets a little rainy out west. It looks like it's picking up a little bit here as well.
I agree with you.
It's still not a downpour, but you can see the mist coming down underneath the lights here at Washburne Stadium, and it's a little thicker.
Isaac Nami setting up for another throw-in. The first throw-in of the night by Mads Westergren ended up in the back of the net. This time a little bit short of Dahlman. Good job by the Denver back line to play it out and try to get a breakaway going the other way. They would love to get a look by O'Fenron 1v1 against Cole Johnson, but not this time.
I've been very impressed tonight by the poise and composure on the back end for SMU. Not just Cole Johnson, but the guys in front of him as well. Because when you've got someone like O'Fenron breathing down your neck, to be able to calmly play it back to your goalkeeper, or as we saw Cole Johnson in the first half, hit the brakes and pull it back with O'Fenron flying by, it takes a different kind to be able to do that without panicking, knowing that someone as talented as he is could very easily park the ball in the back of the net on a mistake.
There's one of your favorite dudes back in, Bryce Willoughby, coming in up front for Tyler Schomer, and also Aiden O'Toole playing in the midfield as Kalai comes out, and this call is going to go against Sparks. A good thing too for Denver is SMU and some good offensive players out ahead of that play. Mustangs also want to go into their bench to their goal scorer from the first half. Jose Ortiz is ready to come on very, very soon. Denver will also bring Holger Olsen, who kissed one nearly off the framework in the first half. One of the best chances for Denver in the first half. They'll both come on very soon for their respective teams. Good takeaway by Harvey Castro. He saw Petraeus up the field, but decided better of it.
He was thinking about it, but Aku did a nice job stepping forward just enough to take away that long bomb. But Castro was definitely looking at number 16 all the way across the field.
It's just about this time last year that the flurry of goals started going in for the Vermont Catamounts. And SMU was left at home and out of the final 16. The Mustangs hold on to the 2-0 lead this time. Bynum turns on it. Westergren goes inside to Bailey Sparks, the box-to-box midfielder. Nice job to take it away by Willoughby. Can Denver start to build something toward the SMU goal?
We talked earlier about the impact of that Vermont game last year, and I think part of it was evident in the aftermath, right? Because as we said, every time you lose, it's disappointing, and certainly at the end of the year, your season's over. But after that game against Vermont last year, a lot of the Mustangs had a look of disbelief on their face.
Sure.
And you have to think that has stuck with this team for a full year.
Berkovitz, good change of direction to get the advantage. Castro out wide to Pino. Now there's no doubt those SMU players that were on the field, they were starting to make plans. Well, I got to call mom, tell her I'm not home for Thanksgiving, that sort of thing. But all of a sudden the season is over for some of those Mustangs. You're like Knut Allender last season, your career was over. And SMU doesn't want that to happen again. Of course, on the other side, neither does Denver, and we're starting to get into desperation time. Overlapping run by Bynum. Is he going to race to this one? Yes, he does keep it in, but nobody home. Still a rousing round of applause for Lamar Bynum for that long run from his outside back spot.
Nothing like seeing your outside back make a 80, 90-yard run up the field to keep possession.
Salvo called for this foul, trying to slide in between the legs of Denver's Bassett, but to no avail, making contact. Here's the long ball in. Willoughby trying to reach it. So does Cole Johnson, and the collision ends up in a stoppage as the two come together after knocking each other over, going after that ball. Oh.
So these two, Willoughby and Cole Johnson, this is a violent collision. And watch this. You don't see it at that angle.
Oh.
Okay, Cole Johnson just took one in the face again. Willoughby's holding his knee, and then he rolls over and checks on his opponent.
That's good stuff.
How cool is this? Cole Johnson, who had his face bloodied last week when he had a couple of teeth knocked out.
His face goes right into the outside of the knee of Willoughby. And Willoughby almost looked like
Cole Johnson just got a yellow card.
Wow. Okay. Probably not for the play on the field, probably for something afterward, you would guess.
I don't know, because I think they're awarding a penalty kick.
And if they are, then this could make it very, very interesting. Yeah, it is going to be a penalty kick. You're exactly right. And how about this for the Pioneers? A grand opportunity to get back into it as Bryce Willoughby gave up his body. So did Cole Johnson. Johnson ruled the offender. And the SMU fans now realizing it is a PK. They can't believe it. But for the Pioneers, the best possible outcome from a very scary situation for Willoughby and Johnson.
The SMU fans can't believe it's a penalty kick. I can't believe Cole Johnson and Willoughby are up and walking. There are some who will suggest that a soccer player occasionally tries to sell it on a collision. Those two absolutely blasted each other. And the fact that they got up and Cole Johnson now has to regroup and try to figure out how to stop a penalty kick. Cole Johnson doing it a week after he got two teeth knocked out. That was a remarkable collision and speaks to the toughness of both Willoughby and Johnson, that they are up and still getting ready to play here. I know Willoughby came out.
Johnson stopped a penalty earlier this year at USF. Can he do it again? It's going to be Sam Bassett, 4 for 4 in his career on PKs to cut the SMU lead in half. The midfielder of the year in the Summit. The crowd rising. Bassett delays. It's a goal. Denver makes it 2-1 off the penalty.
We talked about how the Mustangs were thinking about Vermont at halftime. Tell me they're not thinking about it right now. It is a one-goal game, 22 minutes left in a one-goal margin is an absolute eternity.
Great job by Bassett to catch Johnson leading. And once he knew, it was all elementary from there.
And it looks so easy. But to be able to come in and give a little head fake and a little dip of the shoulder and force the goalkeeper to move, because of course the goalkeeper has to just pick a side and guess.
Now, how do the teams respond? That shot in the arm for the Denver Pioneers. The 8th goal of the season by Sam Bassett. This time a penalty, his second penalty of the year, the 5th of his career. To put Denver back to a 2-1 margin, only down a goal, 22 minutes to play. How does Denver respond? How does SMU respond? Buckle in.
I think if you're Denver, it's evident in the body language. A couple of minutes ago, half the Denver reserves were seated. Now every single one of them is standing up out at the front of the bench area. They look like they want to run all 25 players out on the field right now and get into this game. They know that 21 minutes to make up one goal, plenty of time.
Denver didn't even get the equalizer until the 80th minute against LIU, and then turned around and got the game winner in the 83rd minute. Exactly. Pioneers were cardiac kids a few days ago on Thursday.
Exactly. SMU's thinking about the Vermont game last year. Denver's thinking about the LIU game 3 days ago. They've been here. They've done this. They know this is doable.
SMU, I don't think there's any question. They have outplayed Denver to this point. But right now it feels like anybody's game. I think Lamar Bynum is going to come up with some kind of card, and now Ortiz walks over into that bench. He wants a card for something going on in the bench as tempers flare here in Dallas between these two teams right in front of the Denver hardwood.
And I know it's very tense and it's very...
Here's the reason why we hadn't seen this yet. There is an SMU player down right in front of the Denver bench, and we were screened off from seeing it. Or rather, that's a Denver reserve. My apologies. That's a Denver reserve.
With rushing in.
Here's what we're seeing.
So here's Bynum, comes out of bounds.
Watch for number 7. And as he tries to go back in, and during the replay, I believe there was a card issued. We're going to get clarification on that card. Obviously, it's got a good possibility of being on Bynum. Bynum.
I think the officials are reviewing it to see if a card is merited.
Gotcha.
Or at the very least discussing it.
After the yellow card on Cole Johnson, which ended up in a penalty kick by Sam Bassett to make it 2-1. SMU outside back. Lamar Bynum goes into the Denver bench. Comes out the other side with a piece of flesh. The pound of flesh. And we'll see what else comes of it. And the replay monitor is normally closer to the field, but today, because of the rain, it is back underneath the stadium, more or less, just right along the railing underneath the stadium. And that is where a replay would be taking place right now as Daniel Radford would be looking at it.
Meanwhile, Bryce Willoughby, who came out of the game after he collided with Cole Johnson a few moments ago, he's on a trainer's table behind the Denver bench, has his left shoe and sock off. I think he got his left ankle retaped, but it looks like he's wrapping it back up as if he's going to try to give it a go again if called upon by the coaches.
That's a really good look from the camera on the far side of the field of Bynum knocking into a Denver player for sure, but the way the Denver player sold it from a neutral perspective, certainly not something that would put anybody on the floor writhing in pain. No card issued. Instead, the card is issued on Denver here after the head coach of the Pioneers, Jamie Franks, is incensed that there was no call for Bynum's push. And now Bynum getting into it with O'Fenron. Denver just a goal away from equalizing this thing. You see the bodies flying around now, becoming more of a physical matchup rather than a soccer matchup here in Dallas for the final 20 minutes plus in regulation. The feed to the top of the 18, headed out by Hald, and SMU will try to start a break the other way. Neve Berkovitz finds Mitchell on his right. The freshman tries to bounce back to the inside, but the slickness of the ball stopped play. A lot of pushing and shoving, and at some point there's going to have to be a stoppage, but not until the ball goes into touch and Denver has a throw in.
Jalen Mitchell is one of the smaller players on the field, and kudos to him for sticking his nose in there and trying to regain possession. But at one point he was getting shoved from the back and he was in a headlock, and somehow no whistle was blown.
Gilbert is in for SMU, tries to leave it back behind him, but a great job by Semmelsberger to come up with it for the Pioneers, and he tries to start something the other way, dumping it far side. And Aku trying to lead his teammate. Somebody zigged when the other one zagged, and a goal kick for SMU with a little over 19 minutes left in regulation, and Cole Johnson and company trying to hold on to the 1-goal margin in Dallas.
For Jamie Franks and his staff, this is an interesting line to walk, because on the one hand, you're down a goal with 19 minutes to go, and so there has to be an element of urgency. At some point, that will turn to an element of desperation, but you've also got to play within your emotions. You've got to not let an official's choice determine the outcome of this thing. So you've got to be smart. You've got to be aggressive for sure, but they've got to be smart and make wise decisions, which they've done all year and all night tonight up to this point, and they have to maintain that going forward.
Could that penalty kick come at a more perfect time for Denver? We were just talking about, you know, if they were down by 2 goals at that point, and it's starting to be desperation time. You start taking more chances. Right. Now it's cut in half. Now you can still play your game.
Right, because now you're 1 shot away from being all even. And obviously the Pioneers have plenty of talented players who can deliver that 1 shot.
This could be that shot, but it whisks over the head of a target player. It looked like Bassett, the midfielder, was flying through the middle, and it just over his head, cleared away by SMU for a moment, but the Pioneers are back in. Good change of pace by Aku, sends it back in front. Bynum with the header down, and there is a call on Denver this time. You see how incensed Max Westergren is for SMU as O.J. O'Fenron is now called for this. And I'm not sure if Westergren's just trying to get his team into it or what.
You see Lamar Bynum knocking it down. I agree with you. I think Westergren is just trying to get his teammates and the SMU fans up on their feet and making more noise.
There's no question the SMU fandom, as they were thinking about the 3rd round next week here at home, much more tense at this moment. Good keep by Berkovitz to keep it deep, and then Jalen Mitchell able to do so as well for SMU. But Denver playing aggressively in the midfield, able to slip it away, and here come the Pioneers. Again, just 1 shot away from making it a brand new game. "17 minutes to go. A slip inside. Hald is going to reach it and let it go over the end line. And the goal kick for SMU. 16.5 minutes left.
One of the subplots tonight that we haven't touched on yet is, look, Kevin Hudson and Jamie Franks are two of the best coaches in the country. And the job that Coach Franks and his staff have done this year is absolutely remarkable when you think of the fact that they lost 3 All-America caliber players for the season. Center back Trevor Wright, outside back Ronan Wynn, and midfielder Ben Smith. These are guys who were captains. These are guys who were potential All-Americans. To say they were key parts of the plan for the 2023 season is an understatement. And the way the Pioneers have gotten through this season without 3 of the most gifted players on their roster is absolutely remarkable, and is something for which Jamie Franks and his staff should be enormously proud, regardless of how tonight's game ends up.
They want more. I mean, despite that fact, I think Jamie Franks, there's just a standard for this Denver Pioneer team as a whole.
Right.
Where they know that as Neve Berkovitz goes down, looking at that knee again that came up bulky in the matchup against Charlotte as he gets up to his feet. But just knowing there is a standard, it really has been next man up for Denver. And no better way to prove that than just what they put on the field this year, dominating their league, making it into the NCAA tournament, and on to the second round for the 3rd straight year.
And if you're the Mustangs, this is a very disappointing sight to see, as Neve Berkovitz got up and was trying to walk and then sat back down. Whether it's the same injury as a week ago, we don't know. SMU's outstanding athletic trainer Becky Riegel out on the field, looking at the Mustangs freshman midfielder, the American Athletic Conference Freshman of the Year. And the last thing you want to see if you are Kevin Hudson or one of the SMU players or one of the SMU fans is number 6 having to be helped up and hobbling off the field.
And a very similar look to how slowly he had to come out of the game against Charlotte last week. It seems about as obvious as it can be. It is a re-aggravation, or at least that's what the casual observer would assume. SMU, instead of going for the offensive look and putting Skillberg in at that 10 spot that Neve Berkovitz normally plays, and they'll be shifting around. They bring in a defensive player in J.P. Jordan, showing just how important that role is in the defensive midfield for SMU the rest of the way.
It is, and you mentioned when he came in the first half, J.P. Jordan is a guy who has started and played a ton of minutes for SMU, and so it's not like you're bringing in some green rookie off the bench. This is a guy who is a veteran, and he is absolutely perfect as far as a player who can help protect a lead, because he will tackle and chase relentlessly. And he also is very intelligent and makes smart plays. He makes careful plays. Does a lot to help the Mustangs keep possession, which obviously is critical.
It is, with under 15 minutes left to play, and Denver hunting the tying goal in Dallas. Ball going into touch. SMU brings some more experience back onto the field. Harvey Castro, the senior, after getting a rest of about 10 minutes, is on. Jalen Mitchell, the freshman, takes a seat as this precarious lead for the Mustangs continues to teeter. Denver looks for that one moment that can make it a brand new match and maybe even force extra time here in Dallas. John Liddle, Steve Lansdale, the entire crew. It has been an interesting night, a cool evening. It has been lightly raining most of the night, but it looks like it has let up at least a little bit for now. Little tug by Skillberg, no stoppage. Denver had the advantage. And a great job by Kieran Pino to overtake Dylan Aku.
And Denver had the advantage, but Skillberg had a fistful of jersey I mean, it was the right non-call, but you couldn't hide that one.
No, not at all. Denver hunting the game-tying goal. A.J. Francois laid into touch by Castro. A little gamesmanship by Jose Ortiz. Ortiz right now has the game-winning goal if the match were to end 2-1. But a turn inside, O'Fenron doesn't want it to end that way. Somehow, SMU got a stop on that ball. There was a player leaking inside the 18, and I thought that's where it was heading.
I think about 18 to 20 guys out on the field thought so as well.
Somehow it was stopped out front. Both center backs were there, Hall and Westergren, and one of them made a stop that keeps it from a chance at a 2-2 tie. Denver on possession. SMU trying to be smart defensively. It was a penalty kick and a yellow on the keeper that gave Denver their first goal as Sparks gets pulled down. And that is the reason Bailey Sparks is so good. He almost never disappears in the game. The ball's in the midfield. Bailey Sparks is all over it.
He runs onto the ball, runs through two defenders, keeps the ball from two guys, and eventually the Pioneers had no choice but to yank him to the ground. But he was in a position where he was going 1-on-4, and he was the one who maintained possession.
That time, the only way to stop the midfielder of the year in the American. Oh, Pino with a good idea, but sends it past Skillberg. Just a little too hot for Skillberg, but J.P. Jordan's going to be able to keep this one. And Pino, who is so good on the ball, tries to maneuver back inside, and on his cut, he is fouled. A free kick coming up for SMU in a dangerous position.
It is a dangerous position. You'll undoubtedly have Pino and Bailey Sparks line up over this ball. As you see, he got tripped. O'Fenron was next to him, but he wasn't the guilty party. But Pino is so ridiculously gifted that he's the kind of guy who, you know, he doesn't have the speed of a Petraeus, although he can move, but he's so creative that he tends to get defenders back on their heels.
Westergren, the serve, it's off ahead to the top of the 18 and cleared away by Denver. What a brave header to take. What, just 10 yards away from where Matt Westergren was attacking that ball?
Did he head the ball, or did the ball just hit him in the head?
Hey,
either way, it worked.
Absolutely. Brave just to put your head in that position. SMU with another throw in, a little closer to the goal. Bynum will do the honors for SMU, 10.5 to play. The Mustangs would love nothing more than to get the lead back out to 2 goals. Ortiz in the corner. Ortiz looking to earn a corner, instead another throw in. He's double teamed. Bynum. Two-handed throw in, out top to Salvo. He's gone 90 minutes in the last 5 games. Hall sends it all the way in on that punt, and Isaac Nami gets tested but is equal to it and does catch the ball this time with 10 minutes left. And back behind the play, Lamar Bynum is down the right sideline for SMU, and that means Daniel Radford stops the clock and goes to check on Bynum.
I didn't see if there was contact or if he slipped or something like that.
I don't know if you've got a cramp going on or what.
Could be,
yeah.
Here. I mean, could be. And there you see Daniel Radford signaling for a replacement.
Trying to take a look at that right leg, and yeah, it is going to be a calf cramp.
So Enzo Panazzo now is into the lineup for the Mustangs, and this is a guy who hasn't played huge minutes this year, but when the Mustangs are trying to nurse a one-goal lead, he is one of the guys that comes in the late minutes to chase and chase and chase and chase. He's relentless. He doesn't get a lot of attention. You see Bynum now hopping off the field.
Now, Bonozo normally plays more of a midfield spot, but in this case, he has to enter at that right outside back position. And he is a good athlete, and we'll see if he gets tested by Denver on the left side of their offense, the right side of the defense for SMU with 10 minutes left.
Yeah, obviously, if you're the Pioneers, you have to take the chances that present themselves, but given a choice, wow, absolutely, I'd go up the left side and test the new guy who's been sitting for the last 80 minutes.
Great job by Pino to win the ball there. Out to Sparks, who is taken down with a hard shoulder by Aiden O'Toole as 10 goes against 10 in the midfield. O'Toole, another Texan. One thing Jamie Frank said, you know, a lot of these Texans on my roster, there are about 4 that start. They don't like SMU. And you ask, are you just saying that, or why might that be? Well, he said, you know, SMU really didn't look at him, didn't recruit him. So, yeah, they've got a little vitriol. Sure. Here comes Ortiz. Oh, it's still alive inside the box because of Ortiz, but Nami pounces on it, thankfully, with 9 minutes left.
Yeah, I think if you're one of the guys from Texas who plays for Denver, if the premier team in the state of Texas didn't recruit you, absolutely you come to Dallas tonight with a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah, just a lot of contact there, and Nami. Little fight back on Bailey Sparks as Sparks was nipping in. 8.5 minutes left. Is this the moment? Castro. Bodies on the floor. Sparks is down. No call either way. Pioneers get it out wide, looking for a serve instead of dump into the 18. And the first corner of the night for Denver off that work with 8 minutes left. And Denver down 2-1.
Ollie Hall is a little bit in disbelief that a corner kick was awarded to the Pioneers. He certainly thought he had not had the last touch. But now here it comes from the northeast corner right in front of Moody Coliseum.
SMU's D has not been great on set pieces this season. And this one is well out of play as the Pioneers on that opportunity just gave it a ride. Holger Olsen out of play. Denver comes with Lucas Fisher for A.J. Francois. Tyler Schomer coming in as well for the Pioneers. Some more firepower up front for Denver, including Schomer, a guy who had the game-winning goal against LIU just a few days ago on Thursday. A guy that, when he was recruited out of Prior Lake, Minnesota, Jamie Frank says he eats and breathes goals. They need a guy like that to come through in the worst of ways right now. Bassett through the middle, denied by Westergren with 7 minutes left as the tension mounts in Dallas.
Mustangs tried a little bit of gamesmanship. Jeldrick Dahlman is up at the midfield line getting ready to come back in, and he didn't come up to the scorer's table until Fisher and Schomer were already checked in. They were trying to burn another few seconds on the substitution.
Here comes Castro. What does he have? Well, he's tripped up by Aiden O'Toole. About 40 yards out, and a set piece coming up for SMU. 6.5 remaining. And SMU just plays it into possession, and Castro did not get enough of that. He's trying to just touch it to the corner where Ortiz could run it down. It's in touch to Denver. Good header win by Enzo Pinozzo. Now J.P. Jordan all over it. Jordan advancing toward the goal. Jordan on his right foot. Jordan drives it. Tipped toward the end line, and it is a goal kick. Well, it was going to be a corner kick, and then Nami was knocked over by Skillberg, and the benches are wanting to clear. Nobody has come off the sideline, thankfully, for either side. You can't have that in this moment, but all 22 captured in the corner right to the right side of the Denver goal after that contact between Nami and Skillberg. It was going to be a corner kick, Steve, so that was technically a dead ball.
Right, the flag was up. It was going to be a corner kick, and I get it. When your goalie when there's contact with the goalie, everybody gets very protective of the goalkeeper.
Here we go.
So here you see Nami trying to save it, and then he didn't. Ball's out of bounds. He looks up. He knows it's out. He's going to... And Skilbert comes in with a hard tackle. He doesn't know that the flag is up.
So Nami's starting to play again, so Skilbert did as well. SMU's corner, well, they just play it into the corner, trying to kill some time here, and eventually it ends up in a throw-in for SMU after all that. What do you think about the Mustangs just settling for stall ball at this point? And this is going to go against SMU, and Denver will come out of their own end looking for an equalizer, but the Mustangs right now trying to do everything they can to burn some time.
I think it's certainly too early to start, racing toward the corner flags in a stall ball, as you said.
Oh, a great touch over the top. It's loose in the 6. A half clearance. Castro looks at it, pops it into the air. Driven back in on a half volley, well over the top, but the Pioneers had an excellent opportunity. Ian Smith was on the end line and popped it into the 6, where the Pioneers had a shot to tie it.
Jose Ortiz ends up on his back for this as he tries to get this header, and now Jeldrick Dahlman comes back in. So you have both some additional size and also the very mature 22-year-old senior rejoining the offensive attack. But very dangerous chance there for the Pioneers.
That was a dangerous touch for Pino as well. If you don't touch it correctly when you're that close to the goal, you could have had an own goal for SMU, but just the skill of Pino taking over, trying to keep it in his team's possession, and SMU able to do so. And there are 15 left now.
There are little extra bumps and shoves and elbows coming up, and you've got to be on both sides. You've got to be smart.
Here's the goal, nearly. It goes off of the woodwork, and then Cole Johnson finds it. I thought that was going in. Cole Johnson missed the ball completely, and then O'Fenrin turns around, gets a header on it, and it goes off of the right post. Let's take a look.
I thought that was absolutely in. It was a beautiful run. And you always hear a goal post is the goalkeeper's best friend.
Wow. It was actually Schomer who got that first hit with the header. Schomer, wow. Put a star by that one. Nearly goes in. Denver hits the post in a bid to tie up the ball game. Wow. Everybody catching their breath for a moment.
Yeah, exactly. You would say that the players are catching their breath, but I promise you nobody is catching a breath right now. If anything, they're all holding their breath. 3 minutes, again, seems like an eternity, whether you're nursing a 1-goal lead or trying to erase that margin.
Pioneers have the firepower to do it. Looking for a similar serve. It's poked away by SMU, by Hall, and out near midfield, but kept in by the Pioneers. And this was touched by Dahlman, so a throw-in coming for Denver. 2.5 to play. It's into O'Fenrin, back to the goal, tries to chip it inside, and a good deflection by Salvo back off of O'Fenrin, but they're going to call it a corner. Very interesting call there.
They're saying O'Fenrin was already out of bounds when the ball hit him.
Yeah.
But if you're the Mustangs, of course you're screaming that that should be a goal kick. In the meantime, you've also got to get set up. There's 2 minutes left.
And the call goes Denver's way. Is this the moment for the Pioneers to tie it up? Back post in the air off the top of the goal and played out. And Cole Johnson was there as the ball hit the crossbar.
I couldn't tell whether he deflected it into the crossbar. I think it hit the bar on its own. That is 2 times in the last couple of minutes that the pipe has saved Cole Johnson and the Mustangs.
Watch out, it's free in the 18 again, and SMU gets a very important clearance with 1.5 minutes to play. And Jeldrick Dahlman tells the crowd to get on their collective feet here in Dallas, with SMU tasting an advancement to the next round.
And nobody on the SMU bench, of course, ran over to scoop that ball up. Now you've got a second ball on the field. They probably burned off another 20 seconds just lining up this throw-in.
You got a feel for the Pioneers tonight. So close to tying up that match off Tyler Schomer's head. They've got one more opportunity left in them. Another run up the left side. Great job by Pinozo to send it away. Quick throw in with under a minute to play. Pioneers have a life, but they need a miracle goal to send us to overtime. Here's the serve by Bassett. Top of the 6. O'Fenrin hit the post again. Unreal. The home woodwork going the way of SMU. There's an SMU player down. Watch O'Fenrin.
He's there. He didn't get all of it. And Kieran Pino able to head it clear for the Mustangs.
Final 10 seconds. SMU survives. The home woodwork, the friend of the Mustangs, taking down Denver 2-1, avenging a September loss and headed to the NCAA tournament's third round with the 2-1 victory.
Absolutely unbelievable game. Two extraordinary teams, and quite honestly, two teams that you could argue deserve to go on. The Mustangs got the early lead. Pioneers fought unbelievably to get back into it, and let's be honest, with a little luck, this could be 4-1 the other way. The first goal was let in by Name when it got away from him, and the Pioneers hit the goalpost twice and the crossbar once in the final minutes. Unbelievable game between SMU and Denver tonight.
Steve, that is a great point. 90 minutes, and it's decided by inches in the end. The SMU Mustangs, after the disappointment of the home loss to Vermont last year, the home elation of moving on to the third round. More next from Dallas. Welcome back into Dallas, the NCAA men's soccer tournament, and SMU marches on to the third round, where they will take on Oregon State, pounding Portland 3-0 on the West Coast. And Oregon State earns the chance to come to Dallas to tangle with the SMU Mustangs in the third round next weekend. That's the matchup for the SMU Mustangs and Cole Johnson, the Mustangs keeper, who joins us right now from down on the field. Cole, congratulations on the victory. How does it feel?
Oh, it feels great. Thank you guys for having me on as well. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Cole, a week ago, you earned a trip to the dentist with a collision in the conference tournament. How were you able to maintain your aggressiveness? Because it looked like you were in a bunch of collisions tonight, clearing the ball out from your own end.
Yeah, I think it's just, sounds cliche, but a goalkeeper mentality. I mean, I've lived my whole life just going into tackles, going into anything I can, just brave as I can. So, you know, I'm grateful for this team that's around me, and I'm grateful for the win tonight. You know, the boys stepped up and put some good finishes in, so I'm grateful with this team.
What was your view of the yellow card called on you that ended up in the PK?
Oh, I didn't even know it was a yellow card. My view is it flicked on, and I thought I hit the ball or something. I didn't think it was a penalty, but the ref called it, and it's okay. I'm just happy with the win tonight.
And then what are the moments like when the ball's behind you and you have to trust that that post is going to be in your favor?
Yeah, what, twice tonight? I mean, I don't hope for it. I never hope for that, but I mean, they had some good chances, created some good chances in the couple last minutes. But again, I'm just grateful for the team that I'm surrounded by, because they're really what helped me get through everything.
What do you think the difference was tonight as opposed to last year? We talked about the elephant in the room all game, a 2-0 advantage at the half. You had one against Vermont last year. It was tough to close it out against that great team. How'd you close it out against a great team here tonight?
Yeah, Denver is a great team. We knew it was going to be a tough game going into it. They're really well disciplined. They keep the ball well. They're good technically. So really just the game plan this week was to take care of business, and the way we can close it out is just I think we have a more mature group, and we can do something like this and finish out a game. So again, I've got a great team around me, and I'm very, very proud to be on this team.
Well, Cole, congratulations on the win, and we'll see you next week against Oregon State.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
That's SMU keeper Cole Johnson, who helps the SMU Mustangs reach the third round with a 2-1 victory over the Denver Pioneers. So for Steve Lansdale and our entire ESPN crew, this is John Liddle giving the final score one more time from Dallas, where SMU takes down Denver 2-1. All matches airing on the ESPN networks are streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN.